Today we are talking about price wars, Slack versus Microsoft Teams. In 2014, Slack burst out of beta and in just 2 years rewired how millions of knowledge workers talked about growing from zero to a 3 billion valuation company in just 30 months, a growth trajectory that placed it amongst the fastest growing enterprise software companies in history. But in late 2016, Microsoft answered with a single but brutal move. They shipped Teams free inside every Office 365 license, a platform already reaching 85 million monthly active commercial users, wielding what Peter Thiel would call monopoly power through its dominant operating system and productivity suite. This bundle cornered Slack into a $27.7 billion sale to Salesforce, a transaction that fundamentally altered the competitive landscape for this sort of communication product. Today, we unwind this timeline from Slack's early glory days to Microsoft's monopolistic bundling gamut, the lawsuit, the takeover that followed. This isn't just another startup story, it's a masterclass in pricing wars, monopoly, and just as Thiel predicted, Monopolies win. Buckle up. Act 1, Slack's Meteoric Ascent from 2014 to 16. In February 2015, Slack launched publicly. By year end, they had a 1.7 million daily active users with 93% customer retention rates, nearly double the SaaS industry's average of 48%, and companies like Airbnb and NASA on board. In April 2015, they raised $160 million at a $2.8 billion valuation. Already at 750,000 DAU and 200,000 paid seats with a 30% conversion rate from free to paid, outpacing the industry standard of 2 to 5%. By October 2016, they had 4 million daily active users and 1.25 million paid seats, valuation topping 3.8 billion with annual recurring revenue of approximately 100 million, achieving a remarkable 300% year-over-year growth. Microsoft couldn't ignore this threat to its productivity dominance. Every monopoly is unique, but they all exert power over adjacent market when threatened. Office 365's dominant market position in productivity software, with approximately 70 to 80% market share at the time, was about to flex its muscles. Act 2, Microsoft strikes back. In November 2016, rumors swirled that Microsoft will unveil a chat rival. Slack buys a full-page New York Times ad titled "Dear Microsoft," a cheeky welcome note and a warning shot that underestimated Microsoft's most potent monopolistic weapon, distribution. November 2016, the same week, Microsoft reviews Teams. It bundled that free inside Office 365, which by then had penetrated 80% of the Fortune 500 company network and reached 85 million monthly active users. A perfect example of what Peter Thiel would say is monopoly leverage. By early March 2017, this was generally available in 181 markets, 50,000 organizations with zero incremental customer acquisition costs. And as Peter Thiel says, monopolies can afford to think about things other than making money. Non-monopolies can't. Microsoft's $9.4 billion quarterly R&D budget could develop and deploy Teams, while Slack's entire annual revenue was still just $150 million. Slack had spent 3 years hand-to-hand selling. Microsoft flipped the switch and walked into every cubicle on Earth in a matter of seconds. This wasn't just competition, it was monopoly power at its finest. The ability to bundle products at zero marginal cost to eliminate standalone competitors. Act 3, the adoption arms race from 2017 to 2020. The numbers tell a stark story about monopoly power in action. Teams hit 13 million daily active users by July 2019, 20 million by November, 44 million by March 2020, rocket fueled by remote work and Microsoft's enterprise monopoly position. As Thiel notes, the ability to bundle products at zero marginal cost is the ultimate expression of monopoly power. Slack was still growing, but Wall Street math turns. Slack's IPO in June 2019 via direct listing had a reference point of $26. The open at $38, valuing the company at 23.8x revenue, much ahead of the median SaaS multiple of 13.8x. But then the stock slowly goes to around $26 and quarterly growth rates slow from 49 to 39%. Analysts blame one thing: Why will someone pay $12.5 per seat when Teams already shows up on the invoice marked as $0? This price anchoring effect, a classic monopolistic tactic, fundamentally alters purchasing decisions across the market. Microsoft effectively priced Teams at zero, and this changed the game. Act 4: Legal fire and a white knight. On July 2020, Slack filed an antitrust complaint with the European Commission, citing that 79% of IT decision makers reporting feeling the pressure to adopt Teams due to its inclusion in Office bundles. By December 2020, Salesforce signs the deal to buy Slack for $27.7 billion. This was only about a 10% premium where Slack was trading at the time, which they had much more room to play with. But for Salesforce, this was leveling the playing field against Microsoft. Finally, they had a corporate communications product which they could directly compete with Microsoft. Act 5: Regulators keep swinging. By October 23, Microsoft was under EU pressure and they started selling Office without Teams in the European Economic Area as well as Switzerland. The E3 bundle was at $20.75. Teams standalone was at $5.25, creating a mathematically perverse incentive where buying separately costs more than the bundle. But in 25 June 2024, the European Commission issues a statement of objection. Microsoft now risks fines up to 10% of worldwide turnover, which is $19 billion. So what are the lessons here for every SaaS company and the industry in general? Number 1, beware of playing against monopoly power. Monopolists can afford to think about things beside making money. Microsoft exploited this advantage by using Office's large market share to distribute Teams at zero marginal costs. And number 2, price anchoring is monopoly power. When Microsoft marketed Teams as included, it anchored customer psychology at zero. So once customer psychology is anchored at zero, the other player has lost their market. This also again goes to prove a point that in software, costs are actually always deflating, whether they are inflating in the real economy. The third point is the monopoly test. Does your company generate more than 70% of revenue from a single product in a specific market? If yes, then you have monopoly power and you can do the type of bundling strategies like Microsoft did. But other than that, be careful about how you use bundling. It doesn't generally go as well as companies think. Finally, while monopolies can be great for companies in question, they kill innovation and competitiveness. So this bundling strategy reduced investment in workplace communication startups by 42% in 2017 and 2020 because monopolies by their very nature restrict output. In this case, it restricted the output of new innovated enterprise software. If you are a monopoly player, then you can consider bundling your product to outsmart a competitor. It makes economic sense for you to do that as a monopoly. But on the other side, if you're creating a product and you're going against a monopoly player, please understand that even if you are shining a lot, by a very simple flick of a switch, the other player can change the game on you. And this is partly why Slack had to sell in a hurried fashion to Salesforce, in the similar fashion that LinkedIn had to sell to Microsoft. So while startups can grow a lot, do a lot, at the end of the day, they have to account for the large whales in the market who can basically eat your lunch. Do you want to look at your own pricing? Are you having a pricing war with a competitor? Are you considering doing a pricing war? Talk to us. We are Silicon Valley's #1 pricing consulting firm. We can do a free assessment for you. The link is in the description. My name is Ajit Kuman. I'm the CEO of Monopolies and the author of the book Price to Scale.